Hi friends, how are you? Welcome back to another video. My name is Julie if you're new here and I talk about books. So Valentine's Day is coming up next week and I thought it would be fun to read 3 Valentine's Day novellas. Why novellas, you may ask? I don't usually read novellas and when I do, I don't tend to enjoy them as much, but for some reason, for holidays, there are so many novellas out there and that is also the case for Valentine's Day. And because this year one of my goals is to try new things and say yes more often, I thought, why not just try it out, see if I might like them. I mean, the other holiday that novellas are usually published for is Christmas, and that's a long time until Christmas comes up, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to do that. And actually, the more honest reason is probably that I am very single and I don't know how much Valentine's content I can take this year. Which seems weird, considering that I read a ton of romances all year round, but for some day Valentine's Day is just different. Romance gets shoved in your face and it can set really high expectations and unattainable standards. And oftentimes it's not about being with the person that you really want to be with, but more about not being alone. And that is not so great. So if you're alone and not in a relationship, like myself, that's totally fine. You can also treat yourself. I, for example, will be on vacation on Valentine's Day, so I don't even have the pressure to do anything nice or have a Valentine, because that's not going to happen anyway. So why not just let go of all of the pressure? But I thought it would still be fun to kind of see if there are any good Valentine's novellas out there, and I just randomly picked the first 3 that were available on my audiobook app, and that sounded like they didn't want to make me throw myself off of a cliff. So I will also be trying to rate or tell you about if these novellas are kind of single friendly, how I felt like while I was reading them, and of course, if they are any good. So let's dive right in and see what I thought about the first Valentine's novella that I read. Okay, hi, I just wanted to give you a quick update because I just finished reading One Day by Samantha Young. This was the first Valentine's Day novella that I read for this video, and it started off really good but kind of went downhill from like the middle. So I think this one had a really good start. It was a really funny meeting between the main characters. It was done with like a great sense of humor, the story overall as well. So the beginning was very funny and I liked it. So our main character Hazel, she went into the woods to pee, and then Liam walked in on her. I don't know if you can say that if it's in the woods, but yeah, he found her there, and then she ran away because she was scared of him. She actually thought someone was going to try to murder her. But that's how they two meet. That's a meet cute, right? And then they met again when they were trying to grab something to eat for breakfast, but they were already in a different town, so that was actually a coincidence. That's why they end up having breakfast together. So Hazel then actually tells Liam the reason why she hates this day. It's Valentine's Day, obviously. And she actually hates Valentine's Day because all of her former boyfriends or ex-boyfriends have broken up with her on Valentine's Day or like right before. And it was like a high number, 4 or 5 guys who have done that to her, and that's why she hates that day and thinks it's awful, which relatable, I can understand. So that's why they say like, oh my god, this is the best Valentine's Day I've had in a long time or ever, and they decide to spend the day together. So yeah, that's the story. They spend a day together, and then about at the 50% mark we have a plot twist, and that plot twist kind of ruined the whole story for me, to be honest, because before that it was really cute and wholesome, and then this plot twist comes in and it's something that for me
personally I don't think is redeemable. That's why I didn't enjoy it. And even if it was something that would have been redeemable, I think the story is just way too short to actually deal with this sort of conflict. And yeah, I think there would have been so many opportunities to have a different conflict in this book that would have made it so much better and easier. And yeah, but okay. So this happened, and actually the ending wasn't that bad. It kind of made up for it, but again, for me, it wasn't really a good story from then on. But I did enjoy the writing style. I've read another book by Samuel Young before, and I did like that as well. I think her writing style was fine, and it was good in this story as well. Just this one plot twist. Didn't like it. It is, of course, a bit insta-lovey because it's just a novella, and it also only mostly takes place in one day, so yeah, how in love can you be after one day? I don't know. I don't really like insta-lovey stories that much, but I kind of knew what I was getting myself into reading novellas, so that's fine as well. And I actually did like the characters. I felt like in the beginning of the story they connected really well. But yeah, what I did like about this, in respect of the whole single reading Valentine's Day books, is that the protagonist actually hated Valentine's Day. That was a good way to deal with that, but yeah, otherwise it was fine. It just was my cup of tea, but apart from that, it was okay. So yeah, because of the plot twist, I didn't think it was romantic at all, and that's why it doesn't bother me, obviously. But it did make me a bit angry. That's my take on that book. I gave it 3 stars, and I'm excited to see what the other 2 will be like.
Okay, so now that you have heard my thoughts about the first novella, I would say that wasn't a very good start, but also wasn't terrible. It could definitely have been worse, considering it's Valentine's Day, and I wasn't really in the mood for it anyways. So let's see if the second novella was better than the first one, or maybe worse. Hi guys, so I just finished reading Her Valentine Surprise by Isla Asher, and oh well. I'm going to start with the good things I have to say about this book, because it's not much. The one thing that I liked was actually that it didn't center as much around Valentine's Day. They were talking about Valentine's Day at points in this book. It wasn't the main plot point or wasn't mentioned the whole time. There was no sort of pressure that was there around finding someone for Valentine's Day. It was more of a coincidence that things happened on Valentine's Day. But yeah, I don't even know if it could really be considered a Valentine's Day romance or if it's just a book that mentions Valentine's Day. I did say this was positive, didn't I? Well, it kind of was. At least it didn't put any unnecessary expectations on this day, I guess. The rest of the book, however, I really can't find that much positive to say about it. This is about Sam and Joy. Joy and Sam work at the same place. He is an IT guy, she does something more. I think she writes articles or something like that. It doesn't really matter because she gets fired pretty quickly because she doesn't want to go out with her boss. And then Sam kind of comes in and he offers her a job because they've been knowing each other for a long time. They've been workplace friends. He's into her, blah, blah, blah. And he decided to also quit and start this startup, which they are now going to work on together. And actually, this is where the whole thing goes downhill because they have a startup. Usually startups don't have that much money, but for some reason both of them can afford rent in Manhattan, and she even has a flat for herself. She goes out for dinner, she goes out for drinks with her friends, and she also supports her mother with private care. Because he just casually says like, I can pay you what your job paid you before. I can pay you either 90k or 75k and you can get some shares in this company. So we will own it together. Because of course, that's what you do when you know someone, I don't know. Just because he's into her, he gives her shares of his company. That's just so stupid. How can he make business decisions like that and then be that successful? I doubt it. Anyways, that was not the romance part, but the romance isn't much better either. Sam is a virgin as well, which there's nothing wrong with that. I don't even know if that should be mentioned. I kind of thought in the beginning it might be cute. There might be some cute romance coming out of that, but no, he just is like any other guy. So that wasn't really surprising, but I was hoping for something better. Apart from this aspect of the relationship, you could really see all of the plot points coming from a mile away. There was nothing surprising, and the things that were coming were also things that I didn't like. There was so much bad communication in this book, it made me want to scream. These two just can't work out any of the problems they have because they just don't talk to each other. She overhears him say something, and she's just mad, and she doesn't talk to him or ask him about it. She's not even mad. She's self-conscious about it, and her confidence suffers from it. And she doesn't speak to him about it. It's just so... Why can't you just use your words to say the things that bother you? And that is also the main problem I had with this book, that both of the characters just breach the trust that they have. They treat each other not very nicely, and when the other partner is upset, they just stop talking for a week, and that's kind of it. She then has to come and apologize for her behavior, and everything he has done is fine. They both betray the trust of each other, and she comes and apologizes as the only one in the relationship, and she also defends everything he has done. Even though he admits he has done something wrong, she says no, it's fine. And that's just not the way you can resolve a conflict or avoid conflict in the future, when you just accept everything that your partner does. I didn't like this. If I have anything to say about this book, is please don't read it. It's just stupid. Okay, now we are 2 novellas down, and to be honest, by that time I didn't really want to keep reading any novellas anymore. I was already a bit fed up with Valentine's Day, and I was actually thinking of maybe not doing this video at all, because I was pretty annoyed about all of the romance, and by that time I was really more in the mood for something like, I don't know, mafia bully romance, or even a thriller would have been better than this. And I don't usually read thrillers. So I would have taken someone being murdered over reading another Valentine's Day novella, but I did it anyway, because I like to torture myself. And I can't stand things being left incomplete. So here we go. This was my 3rd Valentine's Day novella that I read. It was actually an ebook, so I don't know. The other 2 were audiobooks. Doesn't really make a difference for me, but let's see what I have to say about this one. Okay, so I just finished reading Valentine Ever After by Jessa James, and this book wasn't too bad. I think it was actually the best one out of all of the 3 novellas that I read for this video. So this book follows the story of Nick and Angel, our 2 main characters, and the way they meet is very interesting. They both have won like a radio competition, or they've won some kind of prize, definitely, where they get the chance to spend Valentine's Day at this fancy hotel resort somewhere in the mountains in Colorado, I believe. There's snow and it's very beautiful. They have a great room, but the problem is that they have been accidentally booked for the same room, because actually there was just one person supposed to win, and now they had 2 winners, and the radio station made a little mistake when they were booking the room, and obviously because it's Valentine's Day, the whole hotel is booked out, so they actually have to stay in the same room. Angel was actually supposed to go there with her boyfriend of 2 years, but they have just broken up, and he has cheated on her. She's very upset about it still, and
Now she has to spend Valentine's Day alone at this fancy resort, and then Nick shows up and he starts flirting with her pretty much right away, but she really doesn't want it because she's a bit more skeptical at first, but then they decide to just seize the opportunity and spend those 4 days with each other. And that's more or less the story. They do all this fancy hotel stuff that is included for free, so we get to see like a lot of cool scenes where they try out different things. And this story is just very unrealistic, and that's also why I actually like it, because it's so over the top that you can't even think that it could possibly be real. Also, the way it was written, it was just so much that I didn't feel like any of this could possibly happen in real life, and I actually felt really good about that, because this is the kind of escapist vibe that I need. I want to imagine things in my head that are obviously made up, and therefore do not set any high expectations, because that is just so unrealistic that nobody would ever think that this is what needs to happen in real life. At least I don't. And if you do, then maybe lower your expectations a little bit, because that's not going to happen. And also you wouldn't really want that to happen, would you? Of course, this story also is very insta-lovey, because we have these characters meet and then spend 4 days and that's it. But it's a novella, so what can you expect from it? Not much. So yeah, I think this one was bad, but in a good way, if you know what I mean. It definitely didn't have any outstanding writing, it didn't have like the most exciting or inventive plot, but it was actually the one of these 3 books that made me feel the best about myself and made me escape reality for a little while. And that's really all we need on Valentine's Day, isn't it? Okay, so I finished all 3 novellas, and I don't really know if I can say that this video was a success. I mean, the last one didn't suck as much, but yeah, still Valentine's Day novella. I think I'm not going to be a big fan of Valentine's themed content anytime soon, and I'm really glad that I can escape it now after I've read all of these and I can finally go on vacation and just forget that Valentine's Day even exists. Okay, maybe I have to say that I was a bit negative towards the whole holiday from the beginning on, so if you really enjoy Valentine's Day and if you like it, then please go ahead and pick up Valentine's Day books. I by no means want to shame anyone for what they enjoy. I know that if you're in the right mood for this, it can probably be really great. I just wasn't this year, and that's fine. So I hope you got some kind of entertainment value out of this video and I didn't do this for nothing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!